Welcome to day 2 of our listening adventure. I'm so glad you're here. This is an adventure I need to be on as well, and I'm so thrilled to be sharing it with everybody as well. I try and work very hard on listening, and yet I could be doing much better than I am, as people in my life will tell you. So know that this is ongoing practice. It's something that we can always strengthen and get better. And also know that when we do practice this and when we do this work, pretty amazing things happen. Yesterday, and if you haven't listened to day 1, I highly encourage you to do that first. Here's why. Each one of these will be valuable unto themselves, but the real, massive benefit is going to be from listening to these in order, because they're each going to build on each other. So each skill that we work on is going to build into the next skill that we work on the next day. So you're going to get the most benefit by listening to these in order. Yesterday, we focused on just really tuning into our ears and listening really, really closely to the sounds that were around us wherever we were. And then listening even deeper into those sounds. And then the other thing we did was noticed how our body felt when we did that. What parts of our bodies were activated and what parts of our bodies were taking a break or just really reduced in terms of how turned on we had those dials, if you will. And that's one of the themes that I want to play with as we explore listening this whole week, is how we adjust the dials in our body so that when we really are working hard to listen well in a situation, that we have turned off the dials that get in our way and we're turning up high the dials that really help us do that. And so we're going to create some muscle memory around this in our bodies as we learn and feel and experience this, so that it just becomes more natural to kind of know our bodies will just do it for us as soon as we are indicating, hey, this is important. I really, really, really want to listen and pay attention and hear and understand what is being communicated to me right now. So after yesterday, listening in, what I want to do today is add all the other senses in our body that help us listen. We definitely listen from our ears, but we also listen using our eyes. We listen using our hearts. We listen using all the filters that we have in place, the beliefs, the expectations, the needs, all these things that we have in our own bodies. I see a lot of people, and I've experienced this personally, who if they've had an experience with an angry sounding person, anybody who's very direct or has a certain tone in their voice comes across as being very angry, may or may not be true. So we need to be careful with those filters and things that we apply to what we're seeing. So we listen from a lot of places. We listen from our brains. The frontal lobe of our brain is where what tends to be activated, in my understanding, I'm still learning about this, but what tends to be activated when we're listening. And we can actually improve our brain by how we listen. We can improve our brain by how we listen, what music we listen to. We can improve our brains using our hearing and our listening. So this works and has so many benefits on so many different levels. So today is pretty simple. Today, what I want you to do is to just notice. And to kick us off, I do want you to spend 5 minutes, set your alarm on your phone, and do what I'm about to share. But I also want you to keep doing this throughout the day. And what I want you to do is notice more by just being hyper aware of everything that you are tuning into when you listen. So for 5 minutes, if you are somewhere where you can see people communicating with each other, do this there. If you aren't, turn on your TV or turn your phone to a YouTube video or some sort of video and watch people communicating with each other for 5 minutes. And as you do that, before you do that, actually, turn down again all those judgment dials. Turn down the part of your brain that needs to analyze and do something with that information. Turn all those dials down. And the dials I want you to turn up are just simply the receiving dials, the dials that are pulling in that information, the dials that are noticing on a big, big level. Turn those up. So turn your eyes up. Turn your ability to see up. Turn your hearing up. Turn your ears up. Turn your heart, an open heart. Turn the open part of your heart up. Turn all the filters, all the experiences that you've had, all the parts and pieces that you are going to translate that information with down for now. Have I talked about the brain? Same with your brain. With your brain, turn that need to justify, understand, respond to, react to down, and just turn the brain's ability to receive information up on high. And then just notice. Notice body language. Notice tone of voice. Notice how people are responding to each other based on their words, tone of voice, and body language. Just notice those things. Watch them carefully. And depending on what you're watching and the situation you're in, if you can, notice what is and isn't working well about that communication. Notice what you wish was maybe happening there. And I need to be careful with that because I'm telling you to turn down all those dials. What I mean when I say that is, if this person would simply uncross their arms and lean forward, I bet they would be having a different conversation. Or if this person's tone was such and such, I bet they would be having a different conversation. That's what I want you to notice, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. So here's what's working well about that communication. Here's what's going into that communication. And here's what isn't working so well about what I'm witnessing in the communication that I'm watching. Does that make sense? One of my favorite things that Jill does, or told me about once, I think we've talked about this maybe on a podcast before. She was driving with a friend who got a text that really upset her. And Jill looked at the text and Jill realized really quickly, I could interpret this in multiple ways. And so she took that text. I don't remember what it said. But she took that text, and the first way she said it out loud was angry. You didn't take the dog out, as an example. I'm just playing. The other one was, hey, you didn't take the dog out. The other one was, you didn't take the dog out. Every single one of those communicated something entirely differently. And her point to her friend in that text was, we interpret a lot from a couple words when we don't have tone and other things to go on. And that can be dangerous, which it can. We also interpret a whole lot from one piece of information, even when we have multiple pieces of information. So maybe the person you're watching communicate is saying something and has a very angry sound, but maybe when you look at their body language, you see how much they care about the person that they are trying to communicate with, and that anger isn't going at that person. Maybe that anger is for the person, or I don't know. It's hard to do this without an actual example in front of us. But do you see where I'm going with this? Let's not jump to any conclusions based on one part or piece of the information that we have. Let's look at the whole picture of communication that's happening in front of us and listen from that whole picture. That's the invitation today, is to tune in to all the things that help us be good listeners. Notice in your body again where you're picking those things up from and into. Is it your eyes that you feel a lot of energy around? Is it still your ears? Maybe you're listening from your heart, or maybe your brain is just on fire. And again, if you aren't picking that up in your body, that's okay. But just try and tune into that. See what happens. And then share with us on social media, Rocket Trike Studios, on Instagram or Facebook. Email me, whatever works for you. And let's talk about how this is working and what's working and what isn't working and what you're noticing that maybe you've never noticed before. And then tomorrow we'll start diving into some more stuff. But right now we're just kind of tuning ourselves in to really prepare for the good stuff. Sound good? Awesome. Okay, so 5 minutes starting now. Do this exercise and then come join us and let's have a conversation. And we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.